Beloved, I want to tell you a dream that the Lord gave me on November 13, 2017. In that dream, saw that there was a large round table, and many there were trying to understand the times. But it was very difficult because each one said and interpreted in a different way. The theme at that time was the trumpets. Then one said that they had already sounded and that they were not going to sound again. Then others said that they had sounded and that they are going again. And others that they had not even passed and that still will not be sounding. So all this was the subject of discussion at this large table, where I saw those people who were sitting there, and as others stayed dumb, they didn't even know what to say. Then at that moment, I saw a large being approaching, dressed in black. He had a white collar, and with a very authoritative voice, he said to them, "Inept, they don't even know the time they're living." Then he went away with a giant laugh and went to a room, and from there he came out with a glass filled with a red liquid. And this man drank it happily. And so he passed between them and went away. So when I saw this being, I was frightened, and as much as I wanted them to see it, it was as if I only saw it because they were all absorbed in the trumpets issue, because they could not combine what the world was experiencing and what it was that they were understanding. So while this scene was passing in my mind, I also thought, aren't they the ones who teach the people, the flock, and they don't even agree between each other? And I was enraptured about this. Then at that moment, my companion appeared and said to me, "Take this roll." So I took it. And when I opened it, it said Revelations chapter 9, verse 12 onwards. And I began to read it. There were some large gold letters, and I began to read. So since I read it, I was told to stand in front of these people who were there in this confusion at this round table. And I began to read to them. So when I stood in front of them and read to them, when they heard what I was reading, their faces changed color. They were horrified, and they got up from that table, and they were so disturbed that they collided with each other. Neither could accept what they had heard. So they said, "How was it? When did the first 5 happen? And it wasn't revealed to us, and we didn't know it." So they were wondering this, and they were observed in this question and walking back and forth and back. Then in those moments, one of them who stood out in stature than all the others passed between them and looked at me and said, "What did you say?" he asked. So I didn't answer him. He just simply kept talking and said, "I know what I'm saying. I'll know first, and then I'll this. And they will pass it on to the people. Who do you think you are?" He kept asking me. He kept telling me. Then this character approached me, tried to take the scroll from me, but my companion appeared and prevented it. Then from there, I was taken to a valley. There were, I don't know if hundreds or thousands of people. There were many. And my companion guided me to a high place and told me, "Read." Then I opened the scroll and began to read Revelations chapter 9 from verse 12 onwards. And when I had read, my companion told me, "Enough. It is time. Come on, my people, enter your rooms, close your doors behind you while the indignation passes." So everyone in the valley, all the hundreds and thousands of people that were there, a lot of people that were in that valley that I could see, they all went out and went to the mountains. I saw them as they climbed, as if they were little ants climbing the mountains. Then my companion told me, "Observe and understand." Then another scroll was given to me, but when I opened it, what I was reading there was Revelations chapter 8, from verse 7 onwards. It was what was there. Then my eyes were fixed on Revelations chapter 8, verse 7, and when I read what it said there, at that moment a movie was passed, and I saw how great calamities were happening in the United States, and its fall was every time more and more and more and more and more until it reached an indescribable ruin. It was something very terrible. It was something that there are no words to describe of everything that really happened in that situation at that moment, what was being shown to me. Then I read Revelations chapter 8, verse 8. And there, when I finished reading at that time, another movie passed before me, and I saw how there in Europe a misfortune after misfortune came and did not stop. So they tried to recover, but there was no way. It was as if all this was like curses for these places, and they, no matter how hard they struggled and tried, could not recover. So I kept reading on the scroll, and Revelations chapter 8 verse 10 continued. I just read this. Then again it began to pass in front of me as countries. These countries were smaller, but I saw that they were very productive. They planted many things or did many things. So they transported this to other places, but suddenly the devastation came to where they were, and also began a destruction in different places. The destruction was by different elements that was happening in the air, sky, land, sea. Then they were so devastated that in them a bitterness reigned in their spirit, such a great thing. It was as if they already felt death behind them, and many, no matter how hard they tried, did not overcome the tragedies produced by these elements. So after that, I was able to read Revelations chapter 8 verse 12. There, after I finished reading, then it was now shown to me. I saw how ecumenism, how all the gatherings of all religion, how they were reaching in common agreements. Then they surfaced more and entered like a desolation in the churches of different religions, including ours. Then chaos reigned between them. I saw that the light that was in the middle of them was darkening until I could not see any more light in the middle of any, because ecumenism had suffocated all the light. So when I saw this, I was alarmed, and I said to the angel who was there, "Where are the true people of God? Where are they? I'm not seeing. What is happening with all this? I do not understand. Explain to me." So at that moment, I was lifted up to the sky, and from there I saw the earthly globe. Then my companion told me, "Look and see." So when I looked, I saw many little lights scattered by the world around the earthly globe. Then I asked, "Where is the temple?" Then my companion told me, "They are the temple." Then I was calmer. I was so suffocated, so uneasy because of everything I had seen at the beginning. And there, then, I could breathe better. I was calmer, but I was still hanging there, watching the desolation of those first 4 trumpets. Then I saw something that filled me with fear. Never seen before in front of me, in front of my companion and me, an angel that did not look at us, flew by quickly. He was quick to go where he was going, and in his hand he had a trumpet. Then he was playing it, and went to the place that was designated for him, and he turned around, and was as if looking towards us. Then I saw that he opened his hand, and a key fell into the space, and while this key went down through space towards the earthly globe, he exclaimed with a very loud voice, "Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth." He repeated the woe 3 times. Then I remembered of what I had read in Revelation. And when he finished saying this, I saw how the key reached the ground, and where it fell, it made a very deep hole. Then locusts began to come out as when an anthill is rolled on the ground. So this also came out on the face of the earth. Then I began to see how these locusts, wherever they went, reached the humans and began to torment them. It was so much torment that they could not find where to be. So this madness that was producing them, I saw them falling ill in hospitals. Others were in their beds taking several pills to be able to take off that torment, to be able to sleep under anesthesia because they no longer wanted to even live. Others simply take off running, trying to end their lives in different ways. But all that these locusts, wherever they reached, they suffered so many agonies, and although they saw death and ceased to exist, but they could not achieve it for some reason. They couldn't get to that point. So that scene was so difficult for me. My agony was so great. It was so great seeing all this because I could see people that I knew were people who knew about this gospel. Then I was also seeing them in this agony too. Too big, according to me, for them. Then I exclaimed with tears, because I could not hold it anymore. Who will be able to escape? Help me, make me understand this is terrible. It's too much. Then my companion told me, do not fear. The children of the Most High are safe. Then there I looked, and I saw how the living temples, those little lights that I had seen scattered in different parts of the earthly globe, cried out and prayed day and night because the locusts wanted to get where they were, but for some reason they could not cross a barrier that protected those who cried out and groaned day and night before the Lord. But with all this, although they knew that they had that protection, because for some reason the locusts did not want to reach, they could not reach on them, they didn't stop praying. They didn't stop crying day and night. Then meanwhile, I was seeing this. My companion told me, there is a deadline for this. Soon it will pass. Then at that moment, I saw how the locusts were formed like a great army. They were well organized. They made a noise that shook everything in their path, but they were already waiting. It seemed like a signal to continue advancing. But at that moment, when I'm seeing all that, I see that one that stands out. It was bigger than all the others. Then I realized that that was the one that was directing them. Then while this horrible scene was shown to me, another angel passed in front of us. There, with a great sound like a trumpet, it was heard again, and a voice came from heaven and said, it is time to unleash the winds. So I got scared. It is time to unleash the winds? Then I was saying, but more? Even of what is already happening? Then my companion told me, the time has come. So I said and asked, time for what? Then he told me, look and observe. Then a great slaughter began by air, water, land. This did not stop. It seemed that everything was going to end, and there would not be a single mortal left on the earth. I saw many dying. Death came to them with fire, with rising smoke. I smelled like it was suffocating. It was like a volcano smell, like an eruption. Then I thought that I too was going to perish because of the fire, smoke, and the suffocating smell. I felt like I was suffocating too. But my companion at that moment told me, today you are a witness of this. Observe. Then I looked more and saw that even those who had survived such a slaughter still did not humble themselves. They were disobeying God's law. They were openly disobeying all those 10 wonderful commandments that God left. They no longer cared even more at this time. Then they ran to venerate other gods, gods of plastic, wood, cement, gold, silver, who do not see, hear, or speak, and who could not save them in this situation they were going through. But for some reason, they kept doing this, and each time they were more evil. Each time they transformed into something more bad for each other because they were like attacking each other. They were like possessed at that moment. Then my companion told me, "This is the hour. For a moment more it will continue, and only the great I Am will finish it." Then as soon as he said those words to me, beloved, there I woke up. I didn't see anymore. But this is terrible, beloved brothers. We have to realize in the solemn times in which we are living, heaven takes account of everything that is happening. Not because he wants our destruction, but because he wants us to return to him, because he wants to save us, and he wants to save us from all these very difficult situations. I am very moved by all this because I realize that it does not matter what the Lord has left us through his word, as we continue in the indolence, as we are still asleep, and we are not realizing it. Many are not realizing of this that is happening. May God grant that we wake up. May God allow us to realize that time is very short and that our Lord is coming and that we have to prepare because our preparation depends on many others being able to meet Jesus Christ. My prayer remains with all of you, and my petition before the Lord is that the understanding that understand could prepare so that these things do not come upon them, and that like those locusts that I saw who wanted to attack those who cried out day and night, the protection of the Most High be with each one of us, and that we do not perish. May the Lord bless you.